Welcome to the Some Insights podcast.
SoMe obviously stands for Social Media Insights.
My name is Dante. I'm a social media strategist based in Geneva.
And I'm Matthias Lüfkens, founder of Digitips.
In our podcast, we talk to the people who manage social media accounts for organizations, governments, and the people who support the executives. They all have interesting stories to tell.
The idea is to learn how they are managing their accounts, how the executives engage on each platform, and hear their tips and tricks. We want to learn from the best cases of social media usage.
Today, we are proud to have with us as our first guest, Georgi Tiki na Ukrainsku, George Tiki in English, or Gosha for his friends. Can we call you Gosha?
You are my friends. That's why you can call me Gosha for sure. And Georgi Tiki is I think it's a training exercise for TV presenters, and we can skip that part.
Excellent.
Gosha is the communications advisor of Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba. Mr. Kuleba is the fifth most followed foreign minister on X. He has 150,000 followers on Facebook, over 200,000 followers on Instagram, and already 20,000 on Threads.
Gosha, you have helped Minister Kuleba since March 2020. Can you please describe your daily routine as a social media advisor to the minister? How the day goes by?
Well, all social media managers and advisors can relate to what I'm going to say, but I think everyone knows that it's a 24/7 job. You don't really have any time off because basically when it's about digital diplomacy, anything can happen in the world at a specific moment and you need to jump in, you need to react quickly, and also you have to be proactive in your communication. So we're in this constant search for new ways to communicate on social media, to collaborate with other ministers, to create something really special and basically promote Ukraine's national interests online. This is our daily routine. And of course, I'm drafting speeches, his social media posts, and it's a constant ping pong with the minister in our messengers, basically discussing the ideas, what else can we do? And it takes all of your time. Your friends and family sometimes are unhappy with it, but that's the beauty of this work. But when you are successful in actually achieving something, it gives you the highest reward, the highest pleasure that you actually did something cool.
You said you're drafting the messages with the minister. Do you post the same message on the different social media platforms?
No, we actually tailor our messages depending on the channel we use. And obviously we have the specifics of the diplomatic communication is that you have a number of target audiences, which are very diverse. You have the domestic audience in Ukraine, you have foreign audiences depending on the part of the world you're communicating, and sometimes even on the specific group within a specific society in a specific country that you want to deliver your message to. So it's always the question of what is the goal of this specific piece of communication and what is the target audience. And based on that, we use either X or former Twitter for foreign audiences. We use Instagram for a domestic audience and a bit of a foreign as well, and Facebook for domestic audience. But it's always a matter of choosing like which target audience do you want to reach.
Is there any time that Minister Kuleba also posts himself, or does he coordinate most of the personal posts with you?
Well, here I'm supposed to say that he posts everything himself and not to disclose the domestic works of this process. But of course, it's a teamwork, and my usual problem or challenge that I face is not to get something approved with Minister Kuleba, because he's a very skilled communicator. First of all, he's a diplomat, and you have to be a skilled communicator. But also, his second personality is a communicator. He wrote a whole book about it, called War for Reality. And by the way, it will soon be in English, this book, so foreign readers will be able to read it. But he's a very skilled communicator. And my usual challenge is not to get something approved by him, but to propose an idea which would be crazy enough and exciting enough for him to like it, and jump on it. But in these 3 or almost 4 years that we're working together, we have developed a really good bond, and I really understand like his thinking, his preferences, what he likes, what he would say in this or that situation. So basically, I'm not expressing my thoughts. It's basically mimicking what he would say in this or that situation.
So, what are the key challenges of ghost posting for the Minister of Foreign Affairs?
The biggest challenge is that when you're ghost posting, you then cannot post something on your own social media, because when I try to post my own post, after writing like 2-3 sentences, I realize, stop, you're not a foreign minister, so lower this passus, lower this, this way you formulate it, and just, you're an ordinary guy, just like formulate from yourself. So I would say this is the biggest challenge. But no, it's a very interesting exercise in itself when you basically mimic the verbal style and the thoughts of another person, and you try to basically expand or replicate what he has to say. Because I spend a lot of time with him in the diplomatic talks, just in our usual day-to-day work, and I basically know his way of thinking. And I can guess what he would think or say in this or that situation. And it's an interesting exercise how you mimic other person's style and thoughts and so on and so forth. But usually it's a ping pong process. So basically, I would propose something, he would correct, he would add something from himself or remove some parts, come back to me or ask me to elaborate on a specific point. So it's a ping pong process. And that's how we create addresses, speeches, social media posts, and so on and so forth.
And I'm sure a lot of our listeners will be able to have the same empathy about the challenges that you already mentioned. Thank you, Gosha. A couple of weeks ago, you engineered one of the most memorable diplomatic threads on Twitter, where 13 other foreign ministers posted a line from the Ukrainian national anthem in a thread. That's a lot of coordination. Can you please tell us how you managed to get all the ministers on board? I'm sure our listeners would love to learn how it happened behind the scenes.
Yes, it was an interesting event and undertaking. Actually, the idea popped up pretty, like suddenly in improvisation, a few days before the Independence Day. And so I texted to the minister saying, look, like we could try to make this kind of digital diplomacy and engage all of those ministers to quote the Ukrainian anthem. He said it's a great idea, but you have to jump on it right now because we have like just 2 days before the Independence Day. And I basically reached out to all of the teams, social media teams of those ministers, and they are kind of my counterparts. They're communications advisors to those ministers. Basically saying like, look, there's a simple idea to have this digital diplomacy undertaking. And they all liked it, actually. They were pretty quick to respond. I mean, in this 4 years of working here, I have developed a network of this personal contacts with those people. And they just basically quickly replied, yes, okay, let's do that. But then comes the more difficult part. How do you actually coordinate this? Because first of all, we decided to post in Ukrainian, meaning that most of the teams and people do not know what this exact line means. You have to explain it to them. And then the most challenging part is to actually have them posted in a specific moment of time, because you have to keep the order of lines and not mix them all together. So when finally the time X came and we started this, we spent 2 hours posting this all, and I literally had to, I don't know, I smoked probably a pack of cigarettes before it was done. because it started very well, actually. It went very easily. And then we stumbled upon a certain line which was supposed to be posted by the Swedish foreign minister. And we realized that unfortunately, he is the only one to have the passwords for, probably he's the only one to have passwords and access to his Twitter. And he was at the meeting at the moment without his cell phone. So I think all of his team reached out to him in this 1 hour that we had to wait. I think they bothered him a lot. But finally, he came out of the room and posted. And then the next ministers went on. And then we finally came to the last line, which was Secretary of State Antony Blinken. And with the State Department, it usually takes a little bit more time because they have a lot of approval levels, and it took maybe 30 minutes for them to post it, but they finally posted it. And when we did it, I sighed, "Ooh, we did it." But it was interesting. I don't think anyone did something like that before. So it was, but it shows you the level of coordination we have with our allies, that we can actually do things like that. That's how well we are connected and how easily we can communicate, and create things. It's not only about the Twitter thread. It's also about the way we do diplomatic things.
I mean, that was an amazing diplomatic collaboration. So there's a follow-up question. How did what channels did you use to coordinate this thread? Is it via email or via direct messages on Twitter or WhatsApp? I mean, can you give us more insights on that?
It was very interesting because all of them live in different communications environments, and all of them use different platforms to communicate. So I had a list of people on WhatsApp, a list of people on Signal, and a list of people on emails. So I had to, jump between all of those platforms to coordinate them all, because we in Ukraine use WhatsApp mostly for those, tasks, and we all communicate on WhatsApp. But you had to jump between WhatsApp, Signal, and email to coordinate them all. Americans, for example, they don't use messengers. It's not really part of their culture to use messengers to communicate. So it's all email-based. The French and the German teams use Signal. Others are using WhatsApp. So yeah, it was all three platforms at the time.
And just about the origin itself of the idea, was there any source of inspiration, or it just popped up in your head?
There were similar things that some of our social media managers did in the past, but inside Ukraine. So that Ukraine has really a great muscle in digital diplomacy and social media management. So some of our teams had these crazy ideas before, and I think in year something like 2017 or 2016, one of our teams working with the Twitter Ukraine, they basically did a thread like that between the Ukrainian ministries. So they would quote, I think it was a carol or some like Ukrainian song, and they coordinated Ukrainian ministers to post one after another the lines of this carol. So I had this reference in my mind when I thought of this idea, but this idea just popped up on my mind spontaneously, just 2 days. I mean, I really didn't think that we will manage to do this because the time to coordinate was extremely slim, but we actually managed somehow.
So how do you judge the impact of this thread?
Oh, it had a great impact. I mean, first of all, it encouraged the Ukrainian people. I think it was our main goal, and our main target audience was not the foreign one. We wanted to show to Ukrainians that our partners stand with us, that they are gonna continue, and that they can even quote the Ukrainian anthem as a sign of respect to Ukraine, as a sign of their support. And it went really well because it was widespread all around Ukraine, in media writing that Minister Kuleba started singing the anthem with his partners. And that was the highest reward, for me, that it encouraged some people in Ukraine, because obviously the times are very difficult. It's the darkest time in our history, the full-scale war, people going through so many challenges, and they need this encouragement, they need this hope, they need this show of solidarity. keep on, to have this feeling that we are not alone, we are not abandoned, and the world stands with us in this struggle. So this was the main goal. But it also got some good coverage abroad, and actually we connected. So I'm glad that you noticed this undertaking from a professional perspective.
Gosh, in addition to this epic thread, Minister Kuleba has hosted several lives. Is there any other social media moment you are most proud of that you would like to share with our audience?
We practiced a lot of Twitter sessions when he answered the questions from followers. It was called Ask Kuleba. People could just basically text any question to him, and he would answer that. I think it was a great undertaking. We have a very capable team here in the MFA. So it's not only about me and Minister Kuleba, it's also about our digital diplomacy block, the public diplomacy block, our press service, and sometimes they undertake really great things like joint posts with different influencers, cultural diplomacy, highlighting some events around the world. So it's a really great, capable team of people here who are instantly looking for, unorthodox, surprising ways to get attention of foreign audiences. Because one thing you cannot do is be boring, and our team at MFA certainly knows that.
Which is the most important social media platform for the minister?
I think there are two platforms which we mostly focus on right now. This is Twitter for foreign audiences and Instagram for domestic audience. The Instagram is growing in Ukraine exponentially. I don't know what's going on in the world and in your countries, in what you see, but in Ukraine, Instagram is really gaining popularity. Instead of Facebook, by the way, which was extremely popular since Euromaidan. But now it feels like many people are migrating from Facebook to Instagram. He never wanted to have a personal Telegram page. We have a foreign ministry page there, but not his own. And Twitter, I think Twitter is the favorite one. And actually, Twitter was the platform which I used to actually get to the job. It's a very funny story because when it was 2019 and he was appointed deputy prime minister before becoming foreign minister, he was appointed first Zelensky's government in 2019, and he got appointed as a deputy prime minister. And I knew that I was working as a journalist in New York back then. I was the correspondent of Ukrinform in New York. And I wanted to come back to Kiev and maybe work in the government. So I saw this man, I like him, I followed him. And I thought, okay, how do I connect to him? And I didn't have his contacts, I didn't have his email, nothing, only Twitter. And because I followed him and I think he followed me, and we had direct messages were available. So I just basically wrote him a message like, look, I'm a journalist, Ukrainian journalist in New York. I know languages. I have some expertise in foreign media landscape. So if you're looking for a press secretary or someone, maybe consider me. And he replied. He's actually, it's incredible how he is capable. He's actually reading a lot of messages on social media and replies to people. And he replied, okay, here's my contact. Let's catch up on Monday. And said, okay, on Monday, contact me. Here's my number. He gave me some test tasks. I fulfilled them. He asked some people about me and he hired me for a job. So I landed on a plane from New York, got to Kiev and started working with him. So Twitter played a major role in my career. Not only in my everyday life.
the power of social media, that's incredible. Gosha, exactly. This has been such an insightful and enjoyable conversation. We arrived to our stage of final questions. We will be asking the same to all our guests, and you are the very first one, so we thank you again for that. Are you ready for the questions?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Who is your favorite and most inspiring social media mentor?
Easy one, Minister Kuleba, the author for not only The Diplomat, the great global diplomat, but also the author of the book War for Reality, which basically outlines the principles of communications in the digital age.
Which are your 3 favorite social media accounts to follow?
It's certainly Twitter Ukraine. It's also United 24 Media, and we work closely with them, and they are great in social media and digital diplomacy. And it's also Ukraine UA digital ecosystem, which is actually part of our foreign ministry team, like a separate part, but who produce excellent content and reach extremely big, large audiences around the world.
And which are your favorite social media channels for professional and or personal use?
It has been Twitter for a long time, the current X. It's become more difficult now to use it. I like Instagram a lot because it allows collaborations. I really love collaborations, and they allow this joint posts. So even yesterday we had a joint post by Minister Kuleba and Secretary Blinken when they visited McDonald's in Kiev, and we coordinated a joint Insta post. It's great. It gives you an opportunity to exchange audiences, the followers, and also gives the sense of a link, and unity that we in diplomacy so much need.
You have a podcast that you're listening to.
Your podcast, and I'm honored to be the first one on it. I don't listen to many podcasts, but I can say that I will be, a dedicated listener and audience of your podcast for sure.
That's awesome. Do you ever manage to disconnect? And how do you avoid social media burnout?
Disconnect? What's that?
And then,
we have a joke in Ukraine, a meme saying like, "How did you manage to keep to not go insane during these times of war?" And the answer is, I didn't manage. I went insane. So I think it's very important to disconnect, really. I don't have such a pleasure right now because we have war in our country. We're fighting back Russian aggression, and this requires all of us to do a little bit more. And there are people now in the trenches, the Ukrainian soldiers, for whom it's much harder than for us. And we feel ourselves the part of the Ukrainian resistance. We don't really have time to, relax, enjoy our lives, disconnect, and so on and so forth. And before Ukraine wins, we're fully into this. After it wins, I hope I can get a can of beer on some nature, throw my phone as far away as possible for at least half a day, and I will really be happy.
And finally, in one sentence, what is your social media mantra?
Have a sense of mistake and be careful, but never be boring.
Дякую.
Дякую вам.
Gosha, thank you so much for your time and for your honest answers. And to our listeners and viewers, please follow Gosha's LinkedIn and X accounts.
It's the same as my name on LinkedIn. I don't use it much. On X, it's also the same as the name you see in this podcast. I don't post there much as well, but you can follow me.
Thank you very much. This was the first episode of our SoMe Insights podcast with me, Matthias Lüfgens.
And me, Dante Licona.
And
Please
don't
subscribe
forget-
please subscribe and follow us on our accounts that you will see here on the screen. See you next time.
Bye-bye.